Good afternoon to the honorable judges and the committees. We are from Big Prime team. We will present and explain our strategy and our decisions for this game. So my name is Nafira. I'm the captain for these teams, and my colleagues for today are Naban, Nikita, Admiral, and Nikki. Next slide, please. So as a team, we have goals that we want to achieve. The first is maximizing the profit. With revenue, we want to focus on maintaining and increasing our sales. And we also want to reduce our cost. And for the second is the market share. So we want to focus to meet the demand by maximizing and also maintaining our production's capabilities. And then if we want talking about goals, so how can we achieve our goals? Next slide, please. So in order to achieve our goals, we divided 5 focus parts to maximize our result. So every team member has their own roles and also the focus. The first, with planning and pricing strategy, we can maximize the possible sales with the demand and also the supply. And the second, we will focus how to maintain our productions. And for the third, we focus to use how we use our financial wisely. And the fourth, we focus to maintain our allocations products. And lastly, with marketing, we want to maintain the demand so it can be in line with our productions. So in order to give comprehensive strategy about planning and also pricing strategy, my colleague Naban will continue this presentation.
Thank you. Next, please. We ensure the potential demand transfer from the previous rounds. Here we approximately to estimate our potential demand and our production determined by this environment. We are faced with macro conditions such as growth rates and inflation, as well as adjusting our price and marketing expense by industrial conditions such as elasticity, marketing, and growth rates. Furthermore, we know that in the simulation it is in model 2. So we are faced with a market with high elasticity and moderate marketing. On implementing it, we don't change the price in round 2, and so on. On the other hand, we invest quite high R&D to catch the potential demand because we can change our price. We plan to focus on cost strategy. For next, Nikki will give explanation to maintain potential demand through our decision.
Okay, next, please. So next is how we maintain potential demand through our decisions. There are several factors that could affect the potential demand, but in this particular slide, we are going to focus more on the R&D and marketing. So the game shows that the marketing effect is moderate and the R&D is high. So we put 300K of marketing expense and 500K of R&D expense in the first round to boost the potential demand and align it with our production capacity. In the next rounds, we tend to keep a stable cost of both R&D and marketing. So if you can see here on the decision that we did not change that much, and the impact of this action is a positive trend of potential demand along with the sales. Although in the second round, there is a lower number of potential demand because of the price increase and lower R&D. So the strategy behind the production will further be presented by our colleague Nikita. Thank you.
Another strategy that we need to consider is the production strategy. As explained before, our main goal is to maximize our profit, and one way to do that is by maintaining a good amount of production and reducing any unnecessary costs, such as urgent procurement, cost of goods sold adjustment, and warehouse costs. The first essential thing to do is to keep track of our potential demand and make sure that the movement is manageable. If the potential demand is too low, it's less likely for us to gain enough profit. But if the potential demand is too high, we will bear the cost of goods sold adjustment and it will be hard for us to balance it with production. Next, we should also acknowledge that in this type of game or model 2, the work shifts are not allowed. Thus, we should make sure that we invest enough money on equipment investment to adjust our production capacity. Next slide, please. Last, we want to make sure that the final amount of production requested is able to capture our potential demand while also in line with the constraints, such as the raw materials and production capacity. In making this decision, we should also consider the final goods contributing to the maximum amount to sell. The next strategy will be explained by Admiral.
Okay, thank you. To achieve our objectives, our team also developed the purchasing strategy. We make sure to maintain our production efficiency high by keeping our maintenance expense at appropriate amount. We also make sure that the potential demand and sales are all aligned by keeping the production allocation number proper. The material purchasing quantity numbers are based on our expected production for the following round. Next slide. In the next two slides, we are going to show the process behind our decision making. We are going to analyze the past round raw materials inventory, conversion rate, and finished goods to determine the proper product allocations and the remaining inventories with the assumption following the production capacity, one shift plus overtime. The remaining inventories will be added to the calculation in order to determine the material purchasing quantity for the next round. Next slide, please. Yeah, here's the calculation. Next slide, please. So for the conclusion is, we have two main points. The first point is being the maintaining profit by stabilizing price and using cost efficiency strategy. And the second point being maintaining the cost balance by reducing unnecessary and low impact investment costs compared to our competitors. Next slide, please. That's all from us. Thank you for your attention. We are eager to have a conversation with all of the judges. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to big team that the marvelous presentation. So we move on to the Q&A section. Maybe Mr. Michael, do you have any question?
Okay, thank you. So I think your decision has been calculated before the start of each round, which is pretty good. Just one quick question. In the round one, I found your cash has about like over 1 million in the balance sheet. What have you in mind? Why don't you release some dividend in round one in order to improve your NPV? Just a curiosity only. Yeah, because in round one, if you take a look in your balance sheet, you got about almost 1.3 million cash on hand. Even though in round two you have a lot of expenditure, but you still have about like about 531,000. Yeah, but I want to know why you don't make some dividend in round one, because you know, NPV is one of the key elements to drive the success of this competition. So just for curiosity, why don't you make some dividend in round one only?
Thank you for the question. Can I answer it now, MC?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I will try to answer the question, and maybe my teammates will can also add to my answer. So we know that in the first round, we actually had enough cash to issue dividend. We actually profit at that round. However, we didn't make decision to issue dividend because we want to make sure the sustainability of our profit, because we want to make sure that the movement, the dynamics in our game from the first round and the second round is maintained, so it's sustained, and we can and we eventually issue the dividend in the second round. So that's why we share the dividend in the second round. And maybe if my teammates would like to add, please.
Sorry, in the second round, from what I can see from here, I did not see you issue the dividend in the second round until the third round should be. Because in the second round, your cash is not much, right? Only about 500 something thousand.
I think in our game, we actually share the dividend in the second round. So if I see the decision history in the second round, oh yeah, in the
Round three,
actually in the third round, yes.
Yeah,
in the third round, we eventually issued the dividend, and it's because we were more sure about the sustainability of the profit That's why we didn't issue it at the first 2 rounds.
Okay, good. And the other question is that I found you have invest quite a significant number of the money in the equipment and the maintenance. I think this is good to me because you can minimize the deterioration of the equipment in your factory. But have you ever tried to figure out whether the investment you spend on the maintenance is justified to cover the the loss of the raw material? Because in normal, the material conversion rate will drop from round to round, and from spending the money, the investment into the the maintenance expense, it will help you to minimize the deterioration. But have you ever tried to calculate whether the money you spend is justified to to offset the deterioration of the deterioration of the machine or not? Because if not, then that means the money you spend is a waste.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Maybe I will try to answer first, and then if my teammate would like to add, please do. And we actually have this calculation, especially because we acknowledge that this game is the Model 2, so we are very limited with the production capacity because we can only produce at like 1 shift plus overtime, which is about 1.35. And we realized that limitations, and we actually have some calculations. If you want to see our calculation, we actually can share it with you on the screen. But basically, what we do in our calculations is we try to make sure that the amount of our desired production can be captured, can be facilitated by our production capacity, which is 1.35 times the production capacity for 1 shift. So we actually do the calculations, and for the maintenance cost, because there is not a certain or exact formula for calculating the effect of the maintenance the maintenance expense on the material conversion rate. We actually just observe the effect of the money that we're investing. And at the end of the day, in the last 2 rounds, I think we actually reduced the amount of maintenance expense, because we see that the material conversion rate for our company is actually enough to cover our production. I think that's our answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's all from me. But if my memory serves me right, the round 2, the OT overtime work should be 50%, but not 35%. Yeah, because in round 3, in round 4, it's 1.35. That's true, but I mean in round 1 or 2 should be 1.5. Okay, if my memory serves me, but it doesn't matter. Just want to let you know only. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all from me, MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Mr. Michael, and thank you for the answer. Maybe we have still time left. Miss Warda, do you want to ask some question?
Okay, so based on your strategy, before you say that you decrease the marketing expense, right? So yes, for the next round. So do you think that is it the good strategy? Because as you say that you increase the price, right? If I'm not mistaken. So do you have a reason behind this?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Maybe I will again try to answer, and if my explanation is maybe my teammate can add into my explanation. But essentially, our main concern here about the marketing is about the movement of the potential demand. So previously we mentioned that we acknowledge that this game is designed to have a very limited production capacity because it's Model 2 and we can only produce at 1 shift plus overtime. And it's different from Model 3 and 4. I think that's more that allows us to have more shifts, like until 3 shifts. And that's why our production is very limited to the equipment investment and also the production capacity. And so basically, why we try to lower our marketing expense is because we do not want the potential demand to be too high that we cannot capture it with our production capacity.